Welcome to the Causes or Cures podcast, your gateway to understanding health and groundbreaking medical research in a fun and easy to understand way. With Dr. Eeks as your host, join us as we sit down with the world's leading doctors and scientists to unravel the mysteries of health. From practical tips on well-being to the latest breakthroughs in medical research, we cover it all. Don't forget to subscribe. Now, let's ignite our curiosity and together dive into today's episode.
Scopolamine's one of those drugs that's somehow been everywhere. Childbirth rooms, CIA interrogation sites, shady back rooms, and sketchy Tinder dates in South America. Yet it manages to fly under the radar. Its story isn't really about preventing disease. It's about what happens when drugs, power, fear, and really questionable ethics start dancing together and no one changes the music. It's about who tells the story, who gets used in the process, and what people are willing to excuse in the name of progress, science, or just convenience. Scopolamine shows up, does something strange, and disappears into the background. And every time the people in charge act like, weird. Then we all move on and pretend it wasn't a red flag wrapped in a lab coat. Hey everyone, welcome to Causes or Cures. I'm Dr. Eeks, your host, and today's solo bonus episode is all about scopolamine, one of the weirdest, creepiest, and most fascinating substances you'll ever hear about. So let's get into it. In 1916, Texas obstetrician Dr. Robert House gave scopolamine, a drug derived from the nightshade family, to his patient who was in labor. Along with morphine, this drug was commonly used to induce a kind of twilight sleep. The main characteristics of twilight sleep were pain amnesia. It didn't necessarily prevent pain, but scopolamine caused women to forget the pain they experienced during labor. Sedation. Morphine helped with keeping the women sedated with some pain relief. Consciousness. Unlike general anesthesia, where you are out, women were still partially conscious. Twilight sleep was popular in the early 1900s, mainly in Germany and later in the US, due to its promise of a painless childbirth. Though that was just a promise, it was never entirely painless. Dr. House asked his sedated patient's husband a question and was surprised when his patient answered instead. He was like, "What the heck is going on?" This was the first documented realization that scopolamine seemed to make it easier for people to answer difficult questions. According to Embryo Project Encyclopedia, part of Arizona State University, Dr. House proceeded to perform experiments to test the effects of morphine and scopolamine on memories of women in labor and concluded that they could not tell lies under its influence. And I'll talk a little bit later, you guys, about how it was used by interrogators as a truth serum. But first, what is scopolamine? Well, it's an alkaloid derived from plants of the nightshade family, such as henbane, jimsonweed, and deadly nightshade. An alkaloid is a natural plant chemical that can affect how our bodies work, often acting as either a medicine or a poison. Gotta love that, right? Flip a coin, folks, flip a coin. Medicine or poison. During the Italian Renaissance, women would use nightshade berries to dilate their pupils. Pretty sure it was through eye drops made from berry extracts, as big pupils have been considered beautiful historically because they are associated with heightened emotional arousal or attraction. These were just some of the things women did for beauty. Let me put these poisonous berries in my eyes so my crush notices me. Huh? Imagine that. But catch 22, you may not notice your crush noticing your big eyes because sometimes the side effects were blurriness or even blindness. Is he into me? Is he into me, you guys? I can't see shit. The things we do. I've never really understood it. We women still go through all kinds of painful, borderline, medieval crap to chase beauty, right? And my inner fatalist, which, let's be honest, makes up most of my insides, is always like, what the heck, dude? Why would you even think about doing that to yourself? You and everyone else are just decaying meat suits headed for the same dirt nap. Maybe skip the doom scrolling that makes you feel like the savage in Brave New World. The needles, the duck lips, the berry eyes, and just go dance in the rain. None of the worms will care what you look like. They will not care. There are stories that ancient Roman soldiers made a paste out of deadly nightshade and smeared it on the tips of their arrows to poison their enemies. And sure, those are just stories, as far as we know. Would you call that bioterrorism? Or just, I don't know, clever field innovation? Then you've got parents telling their kids that if they ate the nightshade berries, they'd meet the devil. Wahahaha. Which honestly is probably just an effective way to keep your toddler from dying. Unless your kid's into Satan, I guess. You know the type. The ones who wore fishnets in seventh grade and wrote poems about drinking blood in the margins of their math homework. The Hot Topic kids. And I'm allowed to say that. I was one. Goth Topic forever. I love that store. It's still around too, somewhere between nostalgia and eyeliner. Anyway, Deadly Nightshade actually grew in my backyard when I was a kid, and my mom didn't break out any medieval cautionary tales. She just yelled, "Aaron, do not eat that! Don't eat that!" from across the yard. She used to slap those neon green Mr. Yuck stickers on anything toxic, but I guess that only works on cleaning products, not rogue backyard berries, you know? It's a shame. Mr. Yuck would have looked great on a vine. Mr. Yuck, for those who didn't grow up with him, was a neon green frowny face designed to warn kids about poison. It was a public health campaign, really, created by the Pittsburgh Poison Center. The idea was that a skull and crossbones looked too fun, too piratey, and kids dig pirates. Arr, I love pirates. We love pirates. Mr. Yuck was supposed to make you gag just looking at it. Basically, the original stay away emoji. And this was back when stickers were the height of health communication. So, how does scopolamine work? Scopolamine is what's called an anticholinergic, which basically means it messes with a chemical in your body called acetylcholine. Acetylcholine, a neurotransmitter that helps things move, squeeze, and secrete. When you block acetylcholine, a few things happen. For one, your body dries up a bit. Less spit, less mucus, fewer secretions in general. It also relaxes smooth muscles, which sounds nice until you realize that's what moves food through your gut. So, yeah, hello, constipation. It can also make it harder to pee because your bladder gets lazy, and it opens up your airways, which can actually be helpful if you're having something like an asthma attack. When it messes with acetylcholine in the brain, that's when things get weird. It can push you into what's been called twilight sleep, a kind of hazy, half aware state where you're calm, you don't really feel pain, and you probably won't remember much afterward. Remember, it's not that scopolamine kills pain directly. It just makes you too sedated and spaced out to care. Back in the early 20th century, it was used with morphine to help women get through childbirth, as I mentioned. These days, it's still used to treat motion sickness. because it can help prevent the nausea and vomiting that comes with that miserable, slow boat to hell feeling. It's also sometimes used for GI spasms and even seasickness, especially in divers. If you're scuba diving and don't want to hurl into your mask, scopolamine may be your friend. All right, now let's jump into how scopolamine was used as a so-called truth serum. And then we can ask ourselves, was that a good idea or just another chapter in humans will try anything once? You guys tell me. Scopolamine was used as truth serum by interrogators to either help confirm the innocence of people or to obtain confessions. For example, there's articles that it may have been used to get confessions for a series of axe murders in Alabama. I came across this article written in 2013 by Jeremy Gray and posted on al.com, maybe alabama.com. And let me just read the first parts of this article because it's too good not to. Here it is. Birmingham was on the verge of frenzy after 4 years of axe attacks on immigrant merchants and assaults and murders of interracial couples, when police announced 5 suspects had been injected with a truth serum and confessed on Christmas Eve 1923. The Birmingham News on January 8th, 1924, printed a front page jailhouse interview with 2 of those suspects, Odell Jackson and Peyton Johnson, also known as Foots. Foots was just his nickname, whether that's from size 13 shoes or a reputation for sneaking around, we don't really know. Both denied confessing to any crimes. Foots described being given a shot of a white fluid just below the shoulder and said he immediately became dizzy. The 2 said while under the influence of the drug, they were asked what color pants they were wearing, what time it was, and if they had taken part in the murders. Yeah, casual sequence there. To which they said yes, I suppose. Anyhow, I will link to that article in the show notes reference section if you want to read the whole thing. For a while, scopolamine was also used by the CIA because, of course, it was. Back in the mid 20th century, the CIA was really into truth serums. They wanted a drug that could make people spill their guts without realizing they were spilling their guts. Scopolamine was one of their go-tos until they decided it was unreliable, mostly because it caused things like confusion, memory loss, hallucinations, and dry mouth, which is pretty much the same effect as waking up in Vegas after a bad weekend, but I digress, or maybe a fun weekend, I don't know. One of the CIA's bigger deep dives into chemical mind games was Project MK Ultra, a secret program that ran from the early 1950s through the early 70s. The goal? Mind control, truth extraction, breaking people down, building new identities, all of it. And they didn't just test on willing volunteers. They ran experiments on prisoners, psychiatric patients, and other vulnerable groups without their consent, which, in case this needs saying, is absolutely horrifying. This isn't ancient history either. This is recent, like within your grandparents' lifetime recent. So when people talk about government mistrust, especially when it comes to health guidance or mandates, COVID being a recent example, it's not just about politics or social media. It's also about historical trauma, right? Because if your government once experimented on people without their permission, it gets harder to take their word at face value later on, right? Anyways, back to scopolamine. From all of these experiments, the CIA learned that yes, it does lower people's inhibitions and makes them more likely to talk, but it also makes them confused and drowsy, forgetful, and occasionally see things that aren't there. So even if someone confessed, you have to wonder if they were just describing a dream they once had in a gas station bathroom. To turn up the volume, the CIA even tried combining scopolamine with different things like LSD. Because what could go wrong, right? Spoiler, a lot. Unpredictable reactions, dangerous side effects, and absolutely no reliable intel. Eventually, they scrapped it. In 1973, MK Ultra was shut down and scopolamine was officially retired as a truth serum. Once the public found out what had been going on, people were outraged, and rightfully so. And out of that mess came the push for stricter ethical guidelines for research on human subjects. So, was there a silver lining? Barely. What do you guys think? While scopolamine isn't used as a truth serum anymore, it hasn't exactly disappeared. These days, it's reportedly used by criminals, especially in parts of South America, as a knockout drug. The claim is that it turns people into walking zombies who follow commands, don't resist, and later have no memory of what happened. Sounds like urban legend material, right? But honestly, we don't need scopolamine to turn people into zombies. Cell phones already have that covered. You see it all the time, right? People face down in their screens, slow shuffling down the sidewalk, no awareness of traffic, construction, or the fact that they just wandered into oncoming joggers, full on zombie mode, no chemical assistance required. Anyway, here's a real story that popped up in the news not too long ago, about a year ago. In June 2024, a Chilean actor named Alex Araya was found dead in an Airbnb in Colombia. The night before, he'd reportedly gone on a Tinder date with two women. Surveillance footage shows all three entering the Airbnb around 11:30 p.m. 2 hours later, the women left, alone, with his phone and credit cards. The suspected drug? Burundanga, which sounds like something you'd yell in a cartoon fight. Burundanga or Burundanga? But it's actually just another name for scopolamine. In Colombia and parts of South America, it goes by that name. The US State Department issued a travel warning actually in 2023, specifically about Burundanga, citing an increase in reports of drug-related robberies. They also noted around 50,000 unconfirmed reports of scopolamine-related incidents in Colombia that year alone. One of the common methods, you guessed it, dating apps. Yeah. People meet online, make plans, someone gets drugged, and the next thing they know, if they remember anything at all, they're missing money, a phone, maybe more. According to the State Department, a lot of these cases probably go unreported because people are too embarrassed to come forward. Personally, I wouldn't be embarrassed. I'd be pissed. Embarrassment is stalking an ex social media and accidentally liking a photo, right? This is a crime. And if you're using dating apps while traveling, no judgment. Just maybe don't treat a Tinder profile like a background check. A couple emojis, filtered photos, and a Michael Scott quote doesn't mean it's safe to share a drink. That's the scoop on scopolamine, just the scoop. These bonus episodes are scoop only. From truth serum to zombie rumors, it's had quite the run. On a serious note, it turned out to be too unreliable to be taken seriously as a truth serum. That didn't stop people from using it during interrogations or convicting people based on what they said under the influence, which is terrible, but not exactly surprising. We've done some messed up things in the name of progress, and we probably still are. Someone with a grassroots podcast will dig them up 75 years from now, and I hope they are funnier or more entertaining than me. But guys, here's a little thought experiment to take with you. Ready? Let's say scientists actually do develop a 100% reliable truth serum, something ethical, repeatable, and real. Headlines start popping up. The whole world finally has truth serum. It is here. Not like alcohol, where people get loud and weird. This stuff makes you tell the truth, at least as you understand the truth. So here's my question for you, listeners. Would that be a good thing for society, or would it be a disaster? Think about it or email me, Erin@bloomingwellness.com. Maybe I'll read a few of your responses on a future bonus episode. Now, as for me, if anyone's wondering what I think, I live in the gray. So if you came here for a hard yes or no, I will disappoint you. But I'll tell you this. If it really was 100% reliable, I could see it being useful in criminal investigations. Same with war. If it's that or torture, I'll take the truth drops because torture haunts everyone involved, not just the person on the receiving end. But when it comes to relationships, no, that's where I draw the line. If someone's slipping truth serum into their partner's coffee to ask, "Are you cheating on me?" we've entered a whole new level of dysfunction. I don't care what your therapist says. That's not communication, that's chemical warfare. Truth is messy. It's filtered through trauma, fear, guilt, love, hormones, religion, gut instinct, mood, sleep deprivation, and whatever weird podcast someone just listened to. And not everyone needs to know everything about you. People deserve privacy. No one is owed the entirety of your story. And honestly, humans change. We're moody little paradox machines. One day it's love, the next day, despair. One day you believe in fate, the next day you ghost someone because they used Comic Sans in their dating profile. Or didn't know the difference between a pigeon and a dove. I'm sorry, but that's basic. And that's the deal. So, yeah, thinking you can know everything about another person, that's cute. But next time the wind blows, you won't. You just won't. Those are my thoughts. If you have thoughts, I'd love to hear them. Email me, and please consider rating the show on Apple, Spotify, sharing an episode with a friend, or support the show through our Become a Supporter of the Science Story Magic link. But that's it for today's solo bonus. If you liked it, let me know. If you hated it, let me know too. And sorry to have wasted your time, but maybe you learned something. Maybe. Feedback is welcome unless it's just a keyboard smash followed by, "You suck." Those I forward to my parents with subject line, "Look what you did. Look what you created." All right, and now it's time for the closing quote. And here it is. You don't have to know everything about someone to love them. Sometimes it's enough to appreciate the mystery. No idea who said that. Might have been AI. Might have been someone's grandma. Either way, I like it. So there will be more bonus episodes coming soon. I plan on sprinkling them through the other episodes where I actually talk to researchers or interesting people, characters. They tell their health stories, what they believe, what they don't believe, just conversations. And that's it for now. So thanks for tuning in. I hope you have a good day or night wherever you are, and goodbye for now.